material. And what we do in factor analysis, we're basically asking, of all the responses to all these incidents, are there responses that cluster together? Are there things that seem to be factors related to the cause or to the prevention questions that we've asked? And what we found was very strong factors that are related to cause and prevention. Factors related to preventing incidents were existence of policy, having policies already in place, having them clear and already written out was considered to be a strong factor in preventing incidents from happening. Having training and education, particularly of IT managers, was considered to be a strong factor in preventing the incidents from occurring that we had within this whole set of 430. And having increased availability to access tools that could monitor access and give alerts to when access was occurring, was considered to be a strong prevention factor. I thought it was very interesting that of all of the factors related to prevention and cause, the vast majority were people-focused factors: education, training, policies, and standards. They weren't technical. And one of the things we fall prey to, or we are prone to, is thinking of technical fixes because we're so immersed in the technology and its innovative applications and so on. We're so enamored by it. But the factors that came out of this deep analysis are not bells and whistles, or more bells and whistles, more technical solutions. There are no silver bullets here. These are primarily people-focused factors. In cause, the strongest cause of these incidents, the factors that accounted for the greatest amount of variance across all of the responses relative to cause were the deficiency in education and training, and a lack or deficiency of user requirements for how users are to use your systems, and accidental or careless behavior. Notice it's not malicious behavior that was a primary cause factor, even though the media would like us to believe there's a whole horde of people just waiting to get into your systems. And we know there's a lot of hitting against our systems. We know that. But the primary causes were accidental and careless behavior causes and lack of education and training. Factors related to IT personnel: they have to have more training and education. They have to have stricter requirements for how to do their jobs. We put lots of personnel in these roles of system administration, and the personnel turn over frequently. If that's the case, without checklists and standards for how basic operations are to be done, we are going to have a lot of variance in how those operations are done. And most system administrators don't like to document. They consider it a waste of time. Without documentation, with rapid turnover of personnel, and with no standards, you're going to have people forgetting to turn permissions back on, forgetting to turn functions off that need to be turned off, skipping steps, and that's when these accidents and incidents are occurring. That came out very strongly. We need to have stricter requirements for job performance for system administrators, and better procedures to protect against accidental behaviors. I've had system administrators who have root access privilege I've said to them, how many people have this root access to your primary servers? And the person said to me, this was in one college and university, college I think it was, the person said, everybody in my department has access. And I said, okay, how many people are in your department? 12. Well, why would 12 people need root access on the primary servers for that college? That is just plain poor practice. That is poor management. And we have not put those kind of procedures and requirements in place. The statistics are very strong on this. And so it's not just something that I as an educator would willy-nilly say, we need more education. This is coming out of the factor analysis. For non-IT staff, the strongest factors related to cause were more security education and awareness training. These are the people in the departments that are handling your data as students or your data as personnel employees. More stringent requirements for the use of shared electronic resources and networks. What I saw this time that I haven't seen in previous research is colleges and universities using quarantine zones. If a laptop came back, somebody went on vacation, came back and tried to hook onto the network, and it was hit against the standards or the requirements for configuration, and it didn't meet the standards that the university had set, that machine is thrown automatically into quarantine and cannot go on the network until it meets the standards. In my view, that's a very, very positive and proactive approach that we need to be taking. There is no reason why any faculty member, just because they got the money, should be allowed to attach unknown devices to the network without the system administrator being fully informed and putting configuration requirements on those. So there's an example. Better knowledge prior to the use of systems. Before we let people start using our data warehouses, they need to have stringent training so that we are avoiding these kinds of errors. And data protection training and responsibility awareness training for our users. The problem with users in colleges and universities is our undergraduates turn over every 4 years. So it's like a black hole for education. How do you ever put enough security awareness out there? That's a very daunting task, but it is the way we will prevent these incidents from happening. Factors related to the network, the strongest factors were more automated resources for controlling access. That's the issues of the quarantine zone and configuration requirements for the networks and for devices. More procedures and requirements relative to configuration of software and hardware, and more automated detection and response tools. Corporate and not-for-profit environments really need more automated detection and response tools. I would have thought they would have been further ahead than we in colleges and universities. That's not the case. Were corporate and academic results different? This was very surprising to me. I expected they would be very different. What we found was that they were essentially the same in the type of incidents, the seriousness, and the problems, the factors related to cause and prevention. Of the 81 variables, only 19 of the variables had difference. Otherwise, we would have combined all of the results and said no statistically significant difference. But 19 variables did have some difference. When we analyzed those variables, they were things like, how centralized are your IT services? Well, corporations and not-for-profits centralize their services much more than academics. So it wasn't about the incidents. It was about their organizational structure that made them different. It wasn't about the incidents. When we asked about configuration requirements, they are centrally organized, so they decide what the configuration requirements are and push those out to the desktops. It's not like academic environments where we have to try to encourage people to use the configurations. In fact, I would predict that more colleges and universities will be pushing configurations out to the desktops as we go forward, just like they're doing quarantine zones. So inspection showed that these are remarkably similar, and I would not have expected it. When we asked for recommended best practices for preventing incidents from occurring, our respondents said education, training, and awareness. Having and following strong policies and procedures, of course, patching and debugging systems, you would have expected that. Implementing logging and analysis of logs. It's no good to log and never analyze the logs. It's a waste of time. And a lot of our colleges and universities are logging, but don't have any time to analyze the logs. They don't have the people to do it. And deploying firewalls requiring proper configuration.